Hello guys, welcome to my channel and today I am explaining the movie Now You See Me Too, released in 2016. This movie got 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb and 34% on Rotten Tomatoes. So do not wasting your time, let's begin. Movie starts in New Jersey in year of 1984, where a magician Lionel Shrike is set to perform a magic trick in which he attempts to escape from a safe as it is dropped into the river. Here Thaddeus is news reporting on the event, speaking that it can't be done. Lionel's son Dallin runs to his dad, showing doubts over the trick. Lionel says Dallin that I'll be out in 5 minutes. Lionel gets in the safe and it's dropped in the water. And we saw that 5 minutes passes and Lionel never comes to surface again. Watching this, Dallin tries running towards the water but he is held back by guards. Now movie scene shifts in present where we saw a video from Thaddeus in the present as he sits in his prison cell and he mentions the magic society known as the Eye and how the horsemen will get what's coming to them. Now again scene changes to New York City where we saw that Daniel is walking through a tunnel that leads him into a room. A voice speaks to Daniel, speaking to be part of the Eye, the underground room of magic and illusion. Daniel is sick of hiding out and not having made progress over the past year in Horseman, but the voice tries to give sympathy to Daniel that things are about to pay off. Meanwhile, we saw that Daniel Streak is playing out his act as an agent. The Horseman, despite being their mole, he talks to new agent Natalie Austin and senior agent Coven about the trail he's picked up, but they think he's a full of crap. Now Daniel returns to his apartment to find a woman named Lula on his couch. He triggers a setup that makes it look like Lula gets dead on couch, but Danny knows that it's a magic trick. She appears behind him and starts saying what she knows about the Horseman. Danny recognizes her because he had already worked with her. Danny tries tying her up, but when he turned back, we saw that Lula disappears from this room. Now Danny is summoned to meet with the rest of the horsemen, and we saw that Merritt and Jack are practicing throwing cards. The three go to their meeting place to find Dallin and Lula together, as she is now part of group horsemen. Dallin says that it's time for their next show to go on. The plan is related to a launch for the tech program Okta and to expose the company's CEO Owen Case for being a fraud and taking the information of his consumers. The horsemen get to the launch site in New York while working as employees. They set up the trap with cameras and Merritt hypnotizes Owen into walking into a room where he will openly broadcast his deception. And the show begins with Danny, Lula and Merritt taking the stage and the audience taking, but suddenly a distorted voice begins to speak. The voice starts to expose the secrets of the horsemen, namely that Jack is still alive and that Dallin is their mole. This happens as Natalie, Coven and the other FBI agents show up. They begin to arrest Dallin but he uncuffs himself and cuffs the agents together. The horsemen run to the roof of the building to escape. They slide down a chute, thinking they will land in a truck that gets them out of there. However, they ends up in the kitchen of a Chinese food restaurant situated in Macau. To add even more confusion, the horseman discovers that this was partially orchestrated by Merritt's twin brother Chase. Now scene shift to Dallin, who gets a phone call from Thaddeus speaking that he is going to exact his revenge. Dallin later uses Coben's idea to get into Thaddeus' prison cell and eventually set him free as he helps him figure out what happened with the horsemen. The horsemen ride with Chase to their next destination. Chase and Merritt explain that how he had stolen his information along with that of the other three horsemen. The thugs brings the horsemen into a building and take it up into the penthouse where they meet Walter. Walter says that Owen had declared him unstable when Owen stole Walter's plan and took credit for their work. Walter gives a work to them, but on this work Lula, Merritt and Jack all refuse, but Danny agrees to it. The next day, the horsemen go to what is said to be the oldest magic shop in the world. They meet a man named Lee and his grandmother Boo Boo. Lee provides the horsemen with the material they need to pull off their heist. During all of this, we saw that Dallin and Thaddeus flying out to the Macau to find the horsemen. And guys, watch and listen carefully, this is the main part of the movie. The horsemen must first meet a South African gangster to do work which is told by Walter. They meet gangster at a casino before he guides them to the facility where they will find the stick. They are brought there as researchers. Creating divergence, Jack gets the stick and attaches it to a playing card. The horseman gets inspected individually while constantly trying to keep the card hidden from view. After a long checking, they are cleared to get out. Knowing the stick would set off the metal detector, Danny creates another distraction to allow Merritt to throw the card to Lula without detection. And they leave the research room. Danny waits for someone in market to pick up the stick. But when Walter shows up with his thugs, Danny learns that he's being double-crossed. Walter's thug hit Danny as Walter demands the stick, but Dallin appears and makes it seem like he grabbed the card from Danny, leading the thugs to chase after Dallin. After taking out most of the thugs, Dallin runs into Chase, who distracted him long enough for Walter to show up and knock Dallin unconscious. Now scene changes from market to a port where Dallin is brought onto a boat. Walter knows about Dallin's desire to avenge his father, which Walter states is something that he relates to, as this is a part of his plan. His father turns out to be Arthur, the same man that Dallin aided the horseman is screwing over after Tressler Company denied Dallin's mother a claim after Lionel's death. They place Dallin into safe of his father and they drop the safe into the sea. They are confident that Dallin's will drown. As the villains leave, Dallin manages to pick the lock open, but he loses consciousness before he can resurfaces. Thankfully, the horseman searched out where he was and Danny pulls him up. And in the next scene we saw that this is the Thaddeus which helps Walter for meeting up with the horseman. Now, after rescuing Dallin, the horsemen go to a magic shop and here they discover that the card which they have is fake, meaning they may have lost it at someone when Danny and Dallin were attacked. Here they are met with Lee and Boo Boo, who reveals that they are also the part of I and have been watching the horsemen for since long time. They realize that they need to put on a show to expose Walter and Tressler and they begin to set up their plan. Now we saw that the horsemen head to the London to put on their show and first the Jack does a setup in the front of small mob of people where he takes 3 volunteers to hide behind 3 large carts. And next Lula does a performance involving doves. Then Danny is in front of large crowd where it appears to be raining, leading him to act as though he is controlling the rain droplets. Where the FBI heading towards London to find the horsemen, while Walter, Tressler and Chase all are tracking their location as well. Notices that they are all located in a pattern. Chase finds Merritt and deduces that he is headed towards Greenwich. The feeling of trouble, Dallin calls the horsemen together to meet at their final point. In this time, the FBI have worked on the way of Thaddeus. Dallin and the horsemen are caught by the Walter's goons and taken to his plane. As they take off, Chase suggested that they threw them all off the plane. One by one, the 5 are thrown off the plane. As Walter and Tressler drink to celebrate, they notice that taste is wrong with their whiskey. Tressler then removes the sticker and sees a full car. The plane stops and they look outside to see the horsemen waving at them. The villains get off the plane and see that the entire thing was staged in between the Thames River situated in London. Thousands of people are gathered around the river to watch the show, which is also streaming all around the world. The horsemen then illustrated on how the show was set up using help from Lee and other willing participants, leading them to a fake hangar that made the villains think they'd take off. Jack also managed to hypnotize Chase when he bumped into him moments earlier into planning to throw the horsemen off the plane. They expose Walter and Tressler to the public along with Chase, leading to the 3 of them getting arrested. Now we saw that Natalie confronts Dallin for his deception, though he claims that he's still the same guy she looked up. He hands her the pen drive with all the evidence and he vanishes from the Thames River. Not long after, Dallin and the horsemen are taken to a building belonging to the Eye. Dallin enters a room and finds a picture of his father, including one of him with Thaddeus. In this room, Thaddeus explained that he and the Lionel were partners whose acts were pretending to be rivals. He has always felt remorse over what happened to the Lionel, but he is proud of the magician that Dallin is his child. Dallin appears to forgive Thaddeus and he asks what happens now. Thaddeus says that find your own way because now this is your journey, Dallin. Just as Danny and the other 3 walks in, Thaddeus walks out, but not before telling the 5 to pay no mind to the curtain in the room. They end up walking to the curtain and find a door behind it. This leads them towards a spiral staircase. They walk down to see whatever happens next. And at this scene, movie ends. So guys, would you like this video or not? Please comment in comment section. And if you think that our work is appreciable, then like and share my video. And if you want to watch the complete movie, then I'll provide movie downloading link on my another channel where you get movie downloading link. So at last, do not forget to subscribe our channel.